All right, these are triangle congruence postulates. So what's the purpose of triangle congruence postulates? It's simply to prove two triangles congruent. So it's a way to prove if two triangles are congruent to each other or the same. There's basically four types we're going to go through here, or four congruence postulates. First one, SSS. SSS stands for side, side, side. So what that means exactly is that three sides on a triangle are congruent to three sides on another triangle. Okay, so as an example, say we had a side here, same as a side here. We use those marks to show they're the same. Maybe the bottom side here is the same as the bottom side here. Double mark those, they're the same. And then the third side here, triple mark, same as the third side here, triple mark. If that happens, then we know that these two triangles have to be congruent. Okay, so that's what we mean. Congruence postulate is a way to show for sure we know that two triangles are congruent. Okay, next one there is SAS, or side angle side. That would be a side, an angle, I'll abbreviate, then a side on a triangle is congruent to a side, comma, an angle, then a side on another triangle. Okay, a little more confusing. But here's a picture. Say we have a side matching up. Okay, you have a side. We've got an angle the same. Maybe this angle here is the same as this angle here. So we've got a side, then an angle, and then also we're going to say, well, maybe this side here is also exactly the same as this side here. So we've got a side, an angle, then a side, angle, side, matching. That's going to force these two triangles to be congruent. Okay, so that would be enough information to prove that this triangle is congruent to this triangle. Okay, next one, angle side angle, or ASA. Pretty similar. An angle, a side, then an angle on a triangle, congruent to an angle, a side, then an angle on another triangle. Okay, here's a picture. Let's just draw the whole triangle here to start. Okay, I'm going to have an angle the same, then a side the same, and then another angle the same. I'll double mark that one. Okay, notice the order. Angle, then a side, then an angle. Okay. And the last one, guys, is AAS. Pretty similar. It's going to be a little difference. You're going to have to notice the difference between ASA and AAS. That's important. So this is going to be an angle, another angle, so I'll say an angle, then a side on a triangle, congruent to an angle, then a side on another triangle. Okay, So let's draw something that looks a lot like the one up above there, except it's going to look a little different. We've got an angle, then another angle, and then a side. Okay, an angle, angle, and a side, matching an angle, angle, and a side. If that happens, these are congruent. The one thing to notice is the difference between, angle, side angle, and angle, angle, side. They're very close. The big difference is where the side is. Do you notice here the side is in between the two angles? Right directly between the two angles, whereas here the side that's marked is not directly between the two angles. Okay, so AAS means the side is not directly between the two angles. I'm going to flip on the back and give you just one other couple of quick examples to help you on your worksheet there. So here's a quick one. Let's say we've got a triangle here and a triangle here that look like they're the same, but we want to know if we can prove it. Maybe 3 inches, 80 degrees, and 6 inches. And then the other triangle will say, well, maybe it's the same measures, 3 inches, 80 degrees, and 6 inches. And the question is, are they similar? I'm sorry, are they congruent? Are they congruent? Okay, is there enough information there to prove they're congruent? Okay, based on what we did on the front, the answer is going to be yes. And the reason will be by what postulate. So look through your ones on the front. You know, you got these 4 choices right now. AASA, AAS. These are your 4 choices. Which one is it? Okay, well, looking here, we've got a side, right? We've got an angle, and we've got a side. Matching with a side, an angle here, and then a side. So obviously the choice is SAS. So it'd be yes by the SAS postulate. One other one, guys, that you might run into is something like this, where they're kind of like are butted up together somewhat. So maybe you see something like this, and then maybe you see something like this. It says, okay, are they congruent? And then which postulate? So looking at this, you've got an angle and a side, and then an angle and a side. Okay, maybe you say, well, not enough information, right? We need 3 things. Okay, but you can also assume some things. You can assume vertical angles are equal. So do you see how that gives us another angle? So now we're talking ASA, an angle, a side, and then an angle. So are they congruent? Yes, by ASA. So give your best shot on that worksheet, and we'll go over that on Friday, and we'll go from there, guys.